I'm Zack Katz, and I am the founder of Trusted Login and Gravity Kit.
And I'm Katie Keith from Barn2.
And today we're talking about elevating your WordPress product and brand and the art of public relations.
This is WP Product Talk, a place where every week we bring you insights, product marketing, business management and growth, customer experience, product development, and more. It's your go-to podcast for WordPress product owners by WordPress product owners. And now, enjoy the show.
Effective public relations isn't just about visibility, it's the key to building long-term trust and credibility, turning your WordPress product into a recognized and respected brand. And that's why we've invited Adam Weeks today. So, hey Adam.
Hello.
Could you introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about what you do?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's quite an honor. I've been following you guys, and I'm in good company. You guys are doing great here on WP Product Talk. So quick about me. My background is in education. I've been a school teacher, a school principal, and oftentimes in a private school. And with that, there was marketing and PR always involved. And I was always interested in that part of the business. WordPress has always been that thing in the background, been a bit of a nerd my whole life. And it was the kind of like, hey, the school needs a website. Well, let's build it in WordPress. Projects here and there. So WordPress has been that kind of constant thing for me, but very periphery until a few years ago when my friend Jonathan Wold invited me to come and help him out at Post Status, a little place called Post Status. And yeah, helped out at Post Status. I'm still actually helping out at Post Status. Michelle Frechette and I are planning a career summit for Post Status coming up in a couple of months. Always there. So yeah, you can find me at Post Status. Also helped out Bob with Do the Woo. And the idea was for both of them was this like helping to bring in partners and sponsors. And in the course of that and talking to people who were wanting exposure, which is why you would sponsor something, Cirrus Influence was born. So I'm a co-founder of Cirrus Influence, which is marketing and public relations. I still wear a Post Status hat from time, still doing that and Do the Woo and very supportive. But yeah, now doing Cirrus Influence. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thanks for coming on. And I find it fascinating that your entry into WordPress is, I think, like so many people's, is from using it and then becoming part of the community. I love that.
Yeah. No, it seems to be a common story. Like, hey, this thing is really useful. Wait, you mean there's things like WordCamps? Like, wait, there's a whole ecosystem and community of people. I had no idea. And yeah, Post Status was kind of just jumping off the deep end into the WordPress community. It's been fantastic.
So we're talking about PR today, and we're talking about it for product owners, which is what the podcast is for. But from your entry into WordPress from education, how would you say the PR is for the WordPress project itself? Like, what are we doing right? What are we doing not as well as we could?
Ooh, that's a good question. I was invited to the community summit at WordCamp US this year, or last year, I guess. Recently, time's flying by at WordCamp US, and that was one of the discussions: is how do we position WordPress to different communities, such as big industry, enterprise level. How do they see us? And one of the things I think that is it's difficult to remember what it's like to not know something. And I'll preface that with, when you're in the WordPress community, WordPress, of course it's WordPress. For many people, like, oh yeah, I've heard of WordPress, but we forget what it's like to not be in that community. And with all things, the importance of being consistent, branding yourself in a way that is recognizable. And I feel that WordPress, being this volunteer yet enterprise, kind of this mix, is unlike really any other community industry that I know of. I would say it's doing well, but one of the things, for instance, that I brought up is that if you go on YouTube right now, maybe it's not correct, and you try and search, how do you contribute to WordPress? Because when I don't know how to do something, I go to YouTube and I look for a video on how to change my car's oil or something like that. But when I do the same thing, when I look on YouTube, the video that was there was like a 58 minute, from someone who, it was this long thing. It's like, we can do better. If people want to contribute to be a part of this community, there are more things we can do to intentionally bring them in. And I think that's where we're lacking.
And one of the things that I think we should probably frame, and Adam, I'm unclear on this, so maybe you could help, is
Sure.
Where is the line? What is the difference between PR and marketing? And can you help draw that line for us? And what, as a product owner, how do I think of these things differently?
So the line is blurring more and more. There used to be a day and age where you had a PR firm and they would write press releases, and they would try to get the press releases to all the newspapers and news stations. And that was kind of how you thought of PR. The definition is a little bit of earned media versus paid media. Advertising was paid media. That was when you had your commercial on the TV, or an ad in the newspaper or the magazine. Earned media was when, hey, we need a subject matter expert. We're going to interview so-and-so about this topic. And they want to do that interview because, when they happen to work at XYZ Corporation. So that's historically been how we often think of PR, earned media versus paid media. We are in a new world of so many types of media outlets. We're on a relatively new one right now. This podcast, video, live, YouTube. This is not something that the marketing advertising industry has had to think about for very long. And so there isn't a lot of pure PR anymore. What we discuss is that there's going to be a mix. And as we talk to product owners and anybody specifically in WordPress, is that I like to think of it in terms of a conversation. You can't only give and you can't only take. So for instance, we're talking right now, and if I only just ask you questions, ask, what do you want? What do you want? That's not a good conversation. If you tell me a story and then I try to tell my own story and then you tell a story, we're kind of one-upping each other, and there's not a give and a take in a conversation, right? I was kind of an aside. I actually had a date night with my daughter, Viviana. Viviana is 9 years old. She just turned 9. And we were talking about how to be a good conversationalist. And a good conversationalist finds a balance between, okay, I'm going to give something of myself. I'm going to tell you a story or tell you what happened today. And then I'm going to ask you a question about yourself or how the day went. And so Vivi and I were practicing this during our little date night. The same can be said for trying to talk to your community about your product. It is not only give. Let me tell you. It's not take. Hey, what do you want? It's the give and the take. In order to do that, when you're talking on podcasts and paid Google search and Facebook ads, there is the give and the take. And that's how I see the importance of a good overall marketing strategy, is balancing that give and that take.
And in terms of giving and taking, Katie, I'd love to hear why this topic matters for product businesses. I'd love to hear your take on this.
Yeah, so public relations is an interesting one because it's not something that we typically think of as a strand of our marketing strategy. But really, it is relevant because it's about how the wider world sees your company. And I actually used to have a public relations job pre-WordPress where I did the PR for a company which was much more traditional. It was in like the early 2000s and was about press releases and trying to get in mainstream media and things like that, which isn't really relevant for WordPress companies. But public relations within the WordPress industry is relevant. And like you were saying about the giving and the taking, so, for example, you might get interviews and things where you're sharing your experiences and also getting exposure. That's give and take on things like WP Tavern and other high-profile WordPress blogs. And we don't think of it as that. We might think about it as profile building, link building, various things, but we don't think of it as PR. And it is PR, isn't it? So I think we need to think about that and the implications of that and the purpose of it and what the potential benefits might be, because it's not something that's talked about enough within WordPress product companies.
Right. I think a lot of times people are doing PR and they don't know they're doing PR. For instance, the post status Slack there's a lot of people talking about different things happening. And every time you are giving of your expertise when someone asks a question or you chime in on a topic, that is kind of a micro form of PR. And in our community, WordPress is big, 43% of the internet. Yeah, but there's probably at the high end, maybe 10,000 people that actually care about WordPress. And how many, it's not a ton of people. And so if you go on a podcast like this, or you're having a conversation in post status Slack or on social medias, or even in the comments on the tavern, that's a great place to have conversations and to elevate your own brand. And the importance that I want to bring here is authenticity, being authentic about it. Is that if you do it in such a way as like, oh, well, if I say this here, then I'm going to get something back. That feels transactional. But if you are truly coming from a place of, I want to help others, and maybe my product that I've spent a lot of time working on, the reason I created this product was that there was a problem. Usually people create products in WordPress because it was something that didn't exist, that they wanted to exist. They were working on a website, and this thing doesn't, man, I made this thing. You know what? It was a little bit of polishing. I can turn this into something I can sell. There's a problem. And this is something I would love your audience to think about when they're thinking about their own product and how they discuss it. What's the problem? What you do to solve the problem, and how it feels once the problem is solved. So that's kind of this rhythm that people can take. What's the problem? What do you do to solve the problem, and how it feels once the problem is solved?
So that's one aspect of it, and that's the aspect from a product owner standpoint. But there's also the media company, like Post Status in this case. You as Post Status would have your own needs and that need to be filled. Like you have a certain amount of content you put out. You want to enhance your brand. You want to make it look good to your readers and your users. So how do you, as a product owner, add value to other people while still saying, hey, I have this new shiny product or this new feature that I really want to promote? How do you find what matters to each organization and target your press release or whatever it is to that either journalist or organization that you're trying to promote in?
That's a great question. And what it comes down to is this term, know thyself. Like, know yourself really well. Know the value that you bring. And I think that, and being consistent with that. On the other end, know what is Post Status looking for. So if you kind of try to dissect it, Post Status needs a few things. One, they need good content that is coming from our community. right? They need people who are experts, and they're trying to find the stories. They're trying to find something to talk about that their audience cares about. And that's where you have an opportunity to say, to build those relationships, talk to who the editors and who are posting at post status, and offer to be helpful. That's a really thing, is and being bold enough to say, my opinion matters and I think I have something to share. Making sure that you truly do. You know something. You built this product, you built this thing, you have an expertise. Be willing to jump into the conversation, but recognizing, all right, what is post status trying to do? They don't want to be a platform for people just to promote their product, right? If you want to be direct, you offer to sponsor post status or a podcast like this, or whatever, these different things. If you want to be clear and direct, that's advertising. Hey, buy my thing, it's great. If you want to grow your influence, if you want to grow your being an expert in that area, people will start to be attracted to you in what you do. Is like, oh, I keep seeing this person show up in post status Slack, or post status here, or on the tavern, or these different places. And then what's great about that is that people come to you because you have elevated your own personal brand.
That's true, but it makes it hard to evaluate the ROI. Is it worth the time that you're spending in that?
Ooh, what a great question. Oh, it's because it's impossible to answer 100%. And before we had Google AdSense and Facebook, all these metrics, we didn't used to measure everything. It was very common for a company to put an ad in a newspaper, a magazine, even a commercial on TV, and have no real good idea exactly. You don't get clicks from a commercial on TV. Like, that's not how that works. And there's a bit of trust in that. If I am visible, that will lead to more sales. You would know, okay, well, what is the magazine? What's their distribution? What is the average profile of the person reading this magazine? What is the average person who's watching this TV and the programming? So you have, even billboards, you're driving by, and okay, what type of people, how many people drive by this freeway? So you have some general metrics, but we have, in some ways, I think, grown addicted to the statistics, and those have their place. We need to know that the ROI is there, but unfortunately, when it comes to earned media, you're going to have to trust the process. And I'll say this one last thing on that, is that it is more for the long road. If you're trying to get sales right now and you have to have sales right now, that's more advertising, that's more click on this. But if I want to be a brand that lasts, that's more of the investment in PR.
It's fascinating here you talk about PR because in my head, PR is press releases, another PR.
Mm-hmm.
You submit a press release, you blanket email a bunch of journalists, maybe targeting with a paragraph saying why it matters for post status or WP Tavern.
Sure.
And then you get ignored because it gets in their email inbox.
Yep.
Hearing you talk about it, it sounds a lot like marketing and branding and advertising. Like, is PR just dead? Like the old image of PR that I have in my head, is that gone?
It is being wrapped up into marketing. I don't think you can say we have a marketing strategy separate from a PR strategy. It is how I would start to think about it more is the earned versus the paid when you're creating, and it's that give versus the take. I am giving of my expertise. So for instance, right now, for my company, Cirrus Influence, which is PR, I am doing PR because I'm not paying to be on here. I'm not being paid, but I am giving of my expertise. I'm sharing of my experience, and I don't expect to get sales right away from this or measure the statistics. but my investment in my time is that you have an audience that is looking for the kind of content that you bring. I'm going to hopefully share some insights I have that will be beneficial to them and they'll be interested in it. And with that will be a form of earned media.
Maybe a key difference is the purpose of the public relations activities, because another word for public relations is probably relationship management for your brand. And so I suppose it's not like even directly trying to sell your product or even half indirectly. It's more about the wider long-term perception of your brand in the wider community, which hopefully includes some of your target audience. So maybe a good starting point would be to try and audit somehow the existing perception of your brand in order to think, in what way do I need to improve on this? Do you have any advice about that?
Well, I think it's one is asking, just being clear and asking that perception. A lot of times it's helpful to have someone who is not in your ecosystem, your community, who's going to be a third party that can be objective. Because again, as I mentioned before, it's difficult to remember what it's like to not know something, and you're in your business. And of course, everyone knows me. I was talking to someone who says, yeah, I've done, he works in WordPress doing security. And he's done a ton of WordCamps. He's spoken. He's been on all his podcasts. And, oh, yeah, everybody knows me. And I was like, well, yeah, but it's been a while since you've done that. And your sales have slowed down. And so that comes to this top of mind. Are you top of mind? And here's something to think about is that when you are talking about yourself and advertising, what's the likelihood that the person who is hearing your message needs the thing that you are selling at that moment? It's very low. It's very low that I happen to need this thing and this person happened to hop on the podcast or whatnot. So the goal is to remain top of mind. So even if, oh yeah, we did that stuff in the past, you have to keep doing it. You have to constantly be like, oh, I did that podcast 2 years ago. I was already on. Like, it's time to be on again. It's time to show up again, to be constantly a part of that conversation. Because if you don't, you won't be top of mind. Because I guarantee you, there will be a time when someone needs the thing you're selling. But are you going to be remembered at that very moment? And then they'll go to your website and buy the thing.
So you talked about WordCamps and events and stuff. I was wondering if you could, do you have any stories that you could share about your personal experiences with public relations and WordCamp events?
Absolutely. So there's a few different parts about events. And the one thing I want to, and Katie, I've heard you talk about this, is you're trying to determine the ROI of a WordCamp. I think you have to be clear as to why you're going. And that is something that I don't always see companies do. Why are you going to this? WordCamps aren't really a sales type of conference, right? You're unlikely to do a lot of sales at a WordCamp. Again, for some of the reasons of, is the person at the event at the time they want to buy the thing? Like, probably not. Usually when you want to buy something is because you have a problem in that moment and I need to solve this thing. So you're unlikely to make a lot of sales at a WordCamp or a CloudFest or things like that. Those are for building relationships. Business is done primarily through relationship building, creating partnerships. And that's where I've seen the mistakes happen, is that people will go to a WordCamp, they'll have their booth, and they'll put a bunch of advertising out there, and they'll be disappointed that suddenly that didn't translate to a bunch of sales, and that was a waste of our time. I would argue that being top of mind at those events, yep, get your logo out, sponsor the event. Oh, we love WordCamps, being associated with that emotional feeling of your company helps to put these events on. That's good. That's long-term. That's brand building. What I would like to see people do more of is plan the before, the during, and the after of the event. That I want to talk to these people and set that up before. Hey, I hear are you gonna be at WordCamp? That'd be great. While we're there, would you mind if we grab half an hour? I'd love to just see what you're working on. Let's grab a cup of coffee. That time. Then when you're there, being present, being authentic, building the relationships, having fun with people. People like to do business with their friends and have fun. Enjoy that time. And then also, as equally, if not more important, afterwards, follow up. Make sure that you took the relationships you built and take that to the next phase. So that's a thing that I see that in my experience, people have kind of missed at an event, is that they advertise, but they don't build relationships.
How do you talk about being authentic and having fun and getting to know people and interacting like a human. I find it really hard to do when I have an ulterior motive, which is I want to nurture and develop a relationship with this journalist so that when I share something with them, they promote it on the website, or I want this person to be a business partner with me, and so now I'm going to get to know them. How do you recommend public relations? How do you recommend getting to know somebody in an authentic way at an event that doesn't feel like you don't want people to feel used? So how do you draw that? How do you navigate that path?
That's a great question. I think because in a ways, most every interaction we have with a human, there is a self-interest. I'm looking for a friend. I'm interested in dating this person. We kind of always want maybe something from it, and they want something from it. So it's not disingenuous to go to an event looking for partners. If you are looking for a win-win, I just want you to buy something that you don't need. No, don't do that. I have a solution for people, and I'm looking for people who are looking for that solution. Like, I'm trying to find them, and maybe I might be a solution to someone else. Maybe there's something here that if I partnered with, it would help my business. It goes back to my conversation with my daughter the other night on our date night, with Vivi and I talking about the give and the take of the conversation. Give of yourself, ask. Give, ask. It goes back and forth, and that authentic. No one, if you have a business, nobody is under the you're here just to become my friend and that's all. Like, no, we're here because we want to grow our business. We want to learn. We're looking for partners. And I think that's the authentic part that you can be helpful, be curious.
Yeah, and while we're on the WordCamp side of things, we've got an interesting comment from our co-host, Amber. Last year at WordCamp US, we allowed people to schedule 15-minute accessibility audits with us, and it was really helpful for having more meaningful interactions with people. So they were sponsoring, and they helped spread the word beforehand by allowing people to schedule these in, which was really good.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, and it's authentic because Amber truly wants to help people have better websites that are going to be accessible to everyone, and that is something she's passionate about. It's a problem she wants to solve, and I love that about what she did at WordCamp US, and I saw her doing that. And for her, obviously, it'd be great to turn that into a sale. But if at the end of the day, she helps someone make a better website, that also feels good too. That's also great. We love helping people. And if it turns into a sale, even better. But, being curious, being willing to help, and being authentic is really important, especially at these in-person events.
So, Katie, I'd love to hear some of your experiences with PR.
Yeah, so a few years ago, when I started working with Ellipsis, the WordPress marketing firm, and they were thinking about how to raise our profile more widely. And one of their recommendations was to get out there and get on lots of high profile industry publications, websites, blogs, places, etc. So I worked with them to kind of identify lots of places to be featured on. So that was generally interviews and telling my story to get people to know me and my brand and the company. So examples were things like WP Tavern, Indie Hackers, that kind of thing. So part of it was like about running a company and part of it was WordPress. And it was an interesting exercise because for each one, you need to think about what is their audience and what does that audience want. You can't just send the same outline for an article to each one. So the trick is to look at the content they've previously published from other people like yourself and think about how you can add to that. So you want something a bit unique that's within the same kind of pattern as what they usually publish. So we did some work together to come up with those and got featured on lots of places, which was interesting. And while I have no way of knowing what sales that generated, some of it definitely did bring other business opportunities like partnerships with other companies and even friendships within the industry and things when they saw what I was doing and reached out to me, and things developed from there. And that's all from what's basically public relations, getting my story out there and making it available so people know who I am. There's other sorts of things as well that help to raise your profile. Like, for example, with the WooSesh conference late last year, we managed to get ourselves nominated for some of the Seshi awards, and we actually won 2 awards, which was amazing. So things like that can be really good for public relations as well, because it's all about that company reputation and credibility and so on. So that was really nice and a different kind of PR, I suppose, to what we'd done before. And then there's all things like sharing what you do with the community. It might be on post status, it might be on Twitter or something like that. I believe lots of people are on LinkedIn having all these conversations and sharing. And as you were saying, Adam, people start to recognize you and you're giving and receiving because you share, and that you also get actionable advice and things from the people that you're communicating with. So all of that contributes to that wider profile. But one concern I always have is, are the people that I am sharing with and raising my profile with my target audience? And within the industry, maybe other product company owners particularly are not our target audience. So does that undermine the benefits of these PR activities?
That's a really good question. And I go back to kind of know thyself, know your brand, know what you're selling, and who is the ideal customer. And you may think, yeah, they're not at WordCamp. They didn't that's not who's there very much. Or maybe they are, but your business doesn't only need direct sales. There's also the value of partnerships with, maybe there's a hosting company who is at this event. And if they start seeing your brand as more valuable, you become more valuable to them. And that's something that I would say maybe people don't always see, is that yes, that person is and they're not here, so we're not going to be there. Yeah, maybe think about it, but maybe there's another product, or maybe there's different people that can be helpful to your business.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've experienced. So, for example, I've only been on Twitter for a year and a bit. That's all quite new to me. But when I needed to, we are selling 7 of our plugins at the moment so that we can focus on our remaining ones. And all I did was tweet saying, anyone got any advice on how to go about selling some plugins? And suddenly everybody was inquiring about acquiring them. And I've even had firm offers just through that. And that is because I had raised that profile on the Twitter platform and got people to know me. So when I did need something business-wise from them, these are not my target customers necessarily to buy the products individually, maybe they, will be a future acquirer either for products or the whole company. And there's lots of other examples like that of where you can benefit directly from those relationships.
Exactly. And it could also be a fertile hiring ground. Maybe you're looking to grow. And if I am a valuable potential employee, I only want to work for rock star companies that are doing great work. If I've never heard of you, you're not showing up at the places I care about, I may not want to work at your company. But oh, you were on these podcasts, you were a speaker at WordCamp, like, oh man, I want to work for Katie Keith because she is an incredible and like that's I think exactly what you said. You've elevated your brand, and so there are more things that are important to your business than only sales.
And how do you distinguish between promoting your personal brand and your product and your company brand? Because let's say Katie does sell Barn 2 eventually, or I do, or any of us does, Cirrus Influence. How do we say Cirrus Influence isn't just Adam, it's standalone?
That is a worry, yeah.
There is a very small likelihood that you will retire from the company you currently work at or own. It's possible, but most people are jumping around to different jobs, different places. Balancing so I would say put your personal brand first, for a couple of reasons. One is because that's you. You'll never be another you, and that will stay with you. Your personal, the company's brand may come and go, but people like to do business with people that they know, like, and trust, right? And so I would say that Barn 2 plugins benefits incredibly well from, Katie, the investment that you've put in growing your personal brand. Michelle Frechette and I are working on creating a class on personal branding specifically for WordPress. And this is going to be a topic that we're going to be discussing. It'll be a course that'll come out in a few months, but it's going to talk about that exact thing. How do you build your personal brand? And I would encourage employers to know how to think about it. Oh no, they're just talking about themselves. Like, we need them to talk about the brands. Like, yeah, you can do both, but do it in a way that elevates both the personal brand and the company.
Yeah, I have discussed this with Ellipsis, who do our marketing strategy, and yeah, they felt that there isn't a conflict. There is a level where that can be a conflict, and we had Yoast on the show, I think last April or something, and that was really interesting because we were talking about how he was the brand, wasn't he? And yet he has moved on, and it's a thriving company without him now. But he was telling us about how he actually had to do a project to de-Yoastify Yoast and allow himself to be separated from the brand. So I'd say that's quite an extreme example, which might cause a problem for a future acquisition. But for most of us, it just shows that the company's in good hands, which would reassure people in the future.
Right. When your name is the company name, it definitely adds a level of, wait, what if I want to sell this one day? And yeah, I often see Yoast having to and I'm no longer, like he has to give that caveat. But yeah, an extreme example. Good point though.
Yeah, for any product owners out there who haven't yet named their company or their product, do not name it your name is my advice. There's also, at the level of newsletters, Gravity Kit, we send out newsletters and we send them out as me, Zack at Gravity Kit. And I feel like I'm trying to develop a personal relationship with our customers in a way that they feel good when I talk to them because they know me from the videos and on my social medias and all that. But I do have the worry every time we send out a newsletter that says Zack with Gravity Kit, like if I ever were to sell, what happens next? And will customers feel a sense of loss? And I guess that's a good thing if they, for my personal brand, but I feel I want to take care of our customers and not have any emotional loss on their side if anything were to ever change.
Well, think about Pippin and the loss that people felt when
Yeah.
he moved on from Sandhills.
And if people
Be
ever have
glad
a
that it
question,
happened. Not
yeah,
be
right.
glad that it happened, not sad that it's over. One thing I'll say on that is it is not enough to merely be good and exist. You need to have news out. You need to have things that are happening. And so that is one of those things where a company, if they experience the loss of you, they now have a thing that they have to deal with. And we can all deal with that in good and bad ways. And ideally, whatever company you leave, they will deal with that in a positive way and hopefully an opportunity that whoever comes in to replace you, like they're going to be excited about that person, because we want these companies that we have helped to build, we've helped to grow, we want them to do well after we're gone. If we're authentic, that would be a good thing to believe. And so yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that, but be cognizant of your personal brand versus the company brand and how you can elevate them both at the same time.
So now is the part of the show when we talk about the best advice for new product owners. Just what are we going to leave new product owners with? And Adam, I'd love to hear your best advice.
Best advice: make good choices. Is my advice to everyone. Just be intentional. But here's what it really comes down to: is when it comes to PR, marketing, branding, know thyself. That's why every book you've read has talked about core values and all of that, because it's important. You have to know yourself. Be consistent with who you are. Don't try to be something that you're not. Being that authentic. Show up. So that means that try to come on podcasts, be a part of the conversation happening in social media and Slack, different places, events. Just real quick, go to WordCamps, go to meetups. Those are really important. One question I have is Jonathan Wold just convinced me that I need to go to CloudFest. CloudFest is doing a WordPress day. And the interesting thing about CloudFest is that it is more of a business-centric conference. It's happening in Germany in March. He just got me this great promo code. If anybody wants to know more about CloudFest, let me know. I went to CloudFest US, and it was a really great event. That was in Austin last summer, but this one is going to be at Europa Park in Germany in March. And again, relationship building. So that's going to be my big advice: is be where the people are. Go to those events. It's so expensive. I hate traveling. I don't want to get out. That's important. You may not see immediate sales from these type of activities. Good things happen in the margin. So when you have margin, time, money, and energy, you can invest in long-term investments in your company. So yeah, real quick, know thyself, show up, be present in the conversations. And then I would encourage you to go to these in-person events. They make a big difference. And then how you think about those events is also kind of that bonus is don't just go, plan your event well so that you get the most out of it.
Yeah, and mine is I related to Adam. You were talking about your date night with your daughter and telling her how to give and take in a conversation. I recently picked up How to Win Friends and Influence People, a book by Dale Carnegie, and
Yes.
I've heard this over and over again that it's a really helpful book. I read it. It was revised in the 80s, and it reads more modern than it was written in 1936, and it reads more modern than that now. It's a much better book than I thought, and it's really a great book for developing relationships and learning in practical matters, breaking down step by step. what that means to listen and to respond and to be friendly and to be professional and to be polite it tells you what to do. So if you have a question as to, well, what does it mean to network and to build relationships with people over time and to follow up with them and to thank them, what does that mean? Well, you can pick up the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I think it's a great start for that.
Absolutely. Great book. Yeah, no, that it's business is done in relationships, friendships. And I can't stress that enough, is that authentic. So that you're not always just trying to take from people, that you want to be willing to give and keep that in balance, because that is a relationship. That is a friendship. If it's not, it's transactional and will not last long and is not very valuable.
And, sometimes it can feel inauthentic to give if you only want something. But if you do it, it will feel more natural. Like, I'm not a generous person. I just give all the time to charities just because I know I should be. Well, then, in fact, you are a generous person. Like,
Right.
by doing the act, you become it. So practice and it'll happen.
Yeah, no, check in on people, ask them how they're doing. For instance, I was talking to someone and they, they're, it was a potential, sale type situation. And he's like, oh, I'm going to be out. My daughter's getting married. That's good to know, but I truly care. Like, oh, wow, congratulations, your daughter's getting married. Like, that's a big deal. I care about you as a person. It's useful to know from the sales perspective, but be genuine, care about the people you're doing business with. And if they're sick, are you feeling better? But be genuine. Like, but I don't feel like authentic. Sometimes it's kind of how do you get to be happy? Well, start smiling and you'll feel happier. It's the activity helps.
And if you're at a WordCamp and you hear something like, my daughter's getting married in June, put it in your calendar to follow up with them. Calendars are your friend when you're trying to get better at following up. Put it in the calendar. Otherwise, you'll never remember it.
I live and die by that thing. If it's not my calendar, it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah. Katie, what's your best advice?
My best advice is to find out how your brand is seen from the outside. Don't just make assumptions. Ask around and try and get that information. Google yourself, see how much you come up, and use that as a basis for an action plan as to what kind of public relations changes and work you might need to do. So I think that's a good starting point.
Well, that's a wrap for this week. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me at cirrusinfluence.com. You can find me in Post Status Slack. I'm on the Twitter, X, and also LinkedIn. And then I'd love to see you in person. If you're coming to one of these events, I'm definitely going to be at CloudFest. Please come find me there. I'm going to be at WordCamp Europe. I can't do both CloudFest and WordCamp Asia, but that would be amazing because they're kind of similar times. WordCamp US, come to those events, and I'd love to see you in person or here online.
So next week, my co-host Amber Hines and I are going to discuss how to scale your WordPress product business with special guest Thomas Fanchen, partner manager at Weglot. So tune in next week.
Yeah, and special thanks to Post Status for being our green room. If you're enjoying these shows, do us a favor and hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends, reference it in your newsletters, and most of all, we hope to see you next week. Bye.